Commander Lith of the Vesperi Expeditionary Force stood motionless on the observation deck. His four eyes widened in disbelief. Below him, a team of humans worked casually on what they called a standard orbital platform. Behind him, his elite warriors, the pride of 7 star systems, collectively held their breath. "They climb without tethers," whispered Sub-Commander Tarn, mandibles clicking nervously. At that height, Lith couldn't respond. The humans were constructing a satellite repair station at the edge of their solar system, floating in hard vacuum with only thin suits separating them from death. One worker, a stocky man called Tom, had just leaped across a 10-meter gap between support beams, catching himself with one hand before swinging into position to weld a joint. The Vesperi had come to assess Earth as a potential conquest. Intelligence suggested humans were physically weak compared to most spacefaring species. What the reports failed to mention was their apparent disregard for personal safety and what seemed to be immunity to fear. "Look at that one," said Weapons Officer Vreen, pointing to a woman working on an exterior panel. "She's singing. I can hear it through the comms." The human Kate was indeed humming a melody while hanging upside down from a support beam, making adjustments to a control panel with plasma tools hot enough to melt Vesperi armor. Earth was classified as a death world, a planet with high gravity, extreme weather patterns, and diverse predators. Most species that evolved on such worlds never achieved spaceflight, the environmental pressures too severe to allow for technological advancement. Humans were an anomaly. "Sir," said Tarn, "the engineering chief is approaching." A human in a slightly different suit pushed off from the main structure, propelling himself toward the Vesperi observation vessel using only small gas thrusters on his wrists. Chief Engineer Mike drifted to a stop just outside the transparent barrier and waved cheerfully. "Like what you see," his voice crackled through the translator. "We're ahead of schedule. Should have your observation post connected to the main grid by tomorrow." Lith composed himself. "Your people work very efficiently." Mike laughed. This is nothing. You should see the deep sea rigs back on Earth. Now that's challenging construction." "Deep sea?" Tarn asked, unable to hide his curiosity. "Yeah, underwater. Crushing pressures, total darkness, temperatures near freezing. Make space work feel like a vacation." The Vesperi exchanged glances. Their own species had evolved in shallow, warm seas before moving to land. The concept of building in deep ocean environments was almost incomprehensible. "I was wondering," Lith said carefully, "about your safety protocols. Your workers seem to take significant risks." Mike shrugged, the gesture barely visible in his bulky suit. "Standard stuff. Everyone's certified for EVA work. We run simulation drills. Got emergency rescue teams on standby." "That human, Tom." He jumped across open space. "Oh, him," Mike chuckled. "Yeah, he's showing off because you folks are watching. We usually don't encourage that, but he's got over 20 years of experience. Used to work construction on skyscrapers before moving to space." "Skyscrapers?" "Buildings that reach up into the clouds, some over a kilometer tall." Vreen made a sound like a suppressed whimper. Litz struggled to maintain diplomatic composure. "On your world, which has," he consulted his datapad, "earthquakes, hurricanes, and tornadoes? Well, we engineer around those." Mike said it as if explaining to a child. "Shock absorbers, flexible materials, reinforced cores. Basic construction principles." A loud clang echoed through the observation deck as a large section of metal floated past. 2 humans were guiding it using only their hands and body positioning, expertly manipulating what must have been tons of material in a zero-gravity environment. "We're placing the main communication array," Mike explained. "Gotta be precise with this part." Lith watched as the humans secured the massive component with seemingly effortless coordination. Their bodies moved with practiced ease in the vacuum, as though they belonged there, as though space itself was just another environment to be conquered. Intelligence Officer Wren sidled up to Lith and whispered, "Sir, I've been monitoring their communications. They're discussing something called mountaineering as a recreational activity. They climb frozen peaks for enjoyment." Lith felt a cold sensation run down his spine, a Vesperi equivalent of dread. "Commander," Tarn said quietly, I recommend we reconsider our assessment of this species. Before Lith could respond, alarms blared throughout the human construction site. A small meteoroid had damaged one of the outer panels. The Vesperi tensed, expecting panic, but what they saw instead was swift, coordinated action. Within moments, 3 humans had reached the damaged section. One began repairs while 2 others positioned themselves as shields, their bodies between the damaged panel and the void. There was no hesitation, no fear, just immediate response to danger. "Just a minor hiccup," Mike said casually. "Happens all the time." They placed themselves in harm's way, Breen observed, voice tight with disbelief. "Standard procedure," Mike replied. "We protect the mission and each other." Lith made his decision then. He turned to his officers, voice low but firm. "Prepare for departure. Update mission parameters. Earth is now classified as diplomatically significant. Recommend alliance rather than conquest." The Vesperi warriors didn't argue. They had seen enough. As they prepared to leave, Mike's voice came through once more. "Hey, before you go, we're having a little celebration when this station's complete. Some of us are going to do a space jump from the upper platform, free falling around the station before jetting back. Want to join? It's quite a rush." The entire Vesperi command crew stared in horrified silence. Lith cleared his throat. "We regret we must decline prior commitments." "Your loss," Mike said cheerfully. "Maybe next time." As the Vesperi vessel pulled away, Lith looked back at the humans continuing their work, swinging between massive steel beams, welding, cutting, building in the cold emptiness of space, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. For a species that evolved on a death world, perhaps it was.